everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Your story is your mission. My name is Beatrice Adams, and I'm so happy that you're back with me today. I want to thank each and every one of my subscribers. I appreciate all of the kind comments I've been getting. I appreciate the questions you have, and I most definitely appreciate your support on my journey to teach as many people as I can reach how to start a nonprofit at the state level and then how to be approved as a 501c3 tax exempt organization at the federal level. I want to encourage each one of you first. If you have not watched all of my videos, please do so because they are in order of how this process needs to take place. If you do not if you do not look at each one of the videos, it will not make sense to you. So please go back and look at each one of those. And they are listed by episode. I ask that you please click on the links below to get the checklist. That checklist is everything needed that you need to include in your 501c3 package so that you will be approved as a tax exempt organization. And also, I include things like bylaws, samples of that, an example of that, the one that I use actually. Please be sure to click on that link and get that. Know that it's going to ask you to go in and subscribe. I do that because I need to keep up with each one of my subscribers and what that'll allow me to do because going forward, I will be sending out additional information that may not be on privy to you on YouTube. So I'll be including a lot of information that will be important to you that you would love to know. And so again, feel free to click on that link. Don't be put off by the fact that it's going to take you down this kind of rabbit hole where you have to then subscribe to my channel or subscribe to my website. Just know that once you put in your email address, you subscribe, I will then send you that email so you'll have access to the bylaws in this case or to the checklist. I do have provisions also in the in the additional information below. That's a PDF. That's not something you need to subscribe to. It's just click on it and you'll get that PDF immediately. Again, go back and look at all of my videos and all of this will make sense to you. So today we're going to go ahead and get started with Form 1023 Part 4. Okay, so here I am at my screen. You all know that I use Google Chrome because it is very nice and clean, and I do not use, I think it's MSN, or I'm not quite sure, but there's just too much news information on that site. I get very distracted quite easily. So I would ask you, you might want to follow suit and use Google Chrome. They're not sponsoring me. It's just a nice, clean platform. And I'm going to show you now how to log into pay.gov. And excuse me for being very general, but there are some that may need this information, so just bear with me. So in your address bar, just just type in pay.gov and go ahead and hit enter, and it'll bring you up to the pay.gov website. Now, this is the website that you will need to have access to when you're ready to submit your application and all of the documents that are required to be uploaded at that time of submission. This is the website you will need to have access to. Please do not attempt to mail in any documentation or this application and all of those copies or what have you of the information that needs to go with the package. Do not mail it in. They will not accept that anymore. They now ask that everything is uploaded, to the pay.gov website and submitted electronically. All right, so here we are at the website, and see at the far right corner, we're going to go ahead and click menu. And there is an extra layer of security that they've added, and we're going to go through that process. You will need to create an account if you have not done so. Of course, if you have not created a pay.gov website, you'll definitely want to go ahead and do that. I have, so I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And see, now this is when it's taking us to that extra layer of security. So I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And the extra layer of security is now id.me or login.gov. You have to create an account with one of these so that you can do that, get through that process before you can have access to the pay.gov website. I selected id.me only because it's first. So I'm going to show you how to get through that process. No rhyme or reason. It's just it was first. So I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in, and I'm going to go ahead and put my password in here. Of course, no worries. You can't see my password. Let's see if I can click remember me. Let's see if it's going to actually not make me do this each time. My guess is I'm going to have to do it each time. So I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And what it should do is actually, I'm going to ask it to text me a code. I've already got my cell phone number in here. And that's what you're going to have to do in order to, I think everyone's familiar with this process anyway, but this is what you're going to have to do to be able to access again the system. All right, so I should get a code here in just a moment, and I do have it, so I'm going to go ahead and type that in. It helps to have your numbers lock key on. Go ahead and click continue. And now what it's going to do is log me right into pay.gov, into my account information. You can see right here it says welcome Beatrice. And as I mentioned in the other videos, but I will of course go through that process here. You're going to go ahead and click go to my account. Now I am doing this because I already have this form. I have the test form that I've been using for the videos. That form 1023, I already have it in the system. So that's why it took me straight there. I was able to click my account but if you have not created an account, definitely again, be sure to watch my videos because I take you through that process, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click My Forms. Now I'm going to click on Saved. Remember, you don't submit until, that would be when you actually have submitted the application. While you're working on it, it's going to be saved, okay? So again, remember, you don't want to save or type all of that information in until you're at the point to where you're about to submit that application. Otherwise, the system does not say, hey, I'm going to keep your information forever and ever, amen. It does not guarantee that. So do not save it until you're just about ready to submit. I'm going to click saved and see, this is my first one. It's the first one I'm working on. This is my test. So I am going to click continue to form, and I'm going to go ahead and get off camera just for a moment so that I can go ahead and get to part 4, which is where we're going to start picking up. All right, so now we're going to start right here. Part 4, your activities. And this is again, we're still, of course, I know I don't have to say this, but I will. We are completing Form 1023, which is the application for recognition of exemption under Section 501c3. Again, we're on Part 4. And remember, see instructions. Remember I said instructions, instructions, instructions. See instructions for more information. So all you have to do is right click on that and open the link in a new tab. I've already done that. And see, when you do that, it takes you right where you need to be. If you have any questions on line 1, for example, just read. It explains it more in detail. Okay? So what it's saying here, see, your narrative description of activities should be thorough and accurate because we determine whether you qualify for Section 501c3 exempt status based on the information in your application. So it's very important that you get all of this right. And I'll just get back over there. And again, so what it's saying, number 1, it's saying describe Describe completely and in detail your past, present, and planned activities. Do not refer to or repeat the purposes in your organizing documents. They've already seen that. What they want to know now is exactly what your organization has done in the past, because a lot of times people start doing organizational tasks before they actually start their nonprofit. They're already kind of doing things. They've already had presentations, they've spoken with people, they've done some things according to what the nonprofit is. And present, you maybe already be doing things. So you're at the point to where you should really be doing research and be doing things presently to so that whenever your nonprofit is approved, you're hitting the ground running, right? Because you shouldn't wait and get this stuff started until you get approved for tax exemption. Once you're approved at the state level as a nonprofit, you should be working on the nonprofit because you want it to be successful. You should not be waiting on your tax exemption status. All right, because your state recognizes you as a nonprofit. So rock and roll with it. And planned activities. You should be doing research based on whatever type of nonprofit you're starting or you have started at this point at the state level. You should be doing research to determine what type of activities do I need to do to make this particular nonprofit successful. Okay. And here, it gives you here, it says for each past, present, or planned activity, include information that answers the following questions. And so you want to just think about each one of these individually. Okay, take your time. I use a separate Word document. No worries. I'm going to show you that exactly. I'm going to give you an example of one. And it's going to be for a food bank. It's not going to, I've been working with Pretty Paws Foundation, showing you just kind of setting that up. But because I would have had to redo that whole thing, I basically just really just revised one that I had on file for a food bank that I'd worked with and took out a lot of information, of course, because we don't want to give you any of their information. But I did use a food bank as an example instead of Pretty Paws Foundation. So I'm going to show you that. But see, it's asking, what is the activity? Okay, what's in the past? What is the activity you performed in the past? Present, I'll show you all that. Who conducts the activity? Where is the activity conducted? What percentage of your total time is allocated to this activity? How is the activity funded? For example, donations, fees, etc. And what percentage of your overall expenses is allocated to this activity? Okay. And how does the activity further your exempt purposes? So I know that seems intimidating, but remember, you've got instructions. Go back to them, read them, let it break it down for you so that you better understand. But even better than that, you have me, ha ha ha, and I'm going to actually show you what my form looks like that I've used. So I've put a lot of thought into this, and there are certain things that you need to make sure it says, okay? And then, of course, the interactive form gives you space here to put something in. I'm not going to do that here because it's just not enough space. If I wanted to copy and paste something here, like the very first part of the information, I could, but I don't usually do that. I usually type C attachment. That way they know I've actually attached that. Or in this case, we're going to say upload now that we upload everything. So we're going to say see upload. Okay. Either way, they know what that means. Even if you said see attachment, they're good with that. So see upload. Don't leave it blank. Point them to the directions where they're going to know, like this is where you're going to see the answers to that question. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So now what I'm going to do is bear with me just a moment. I'm going to now pull up the actual PDF that I use. Well, I use a Word document, of course, but I put it in PDF format so that I won't make move information around while I'm showing you the answers to this section. So hold on just one moment. Let me pull that up for you. Okay, so here I am on the form that I created in a Word document. Again, this is a PDF that I have here. I will provide that in the information below. I'll provide a link so that you can grab that. Remember that I said do not be intimidated by the fact that I'm asking you to, once you click on that link, then it's going to ask you to take you to a screen that's actually on my website. It's going to ask you to subscribe to my website. And then I'm going to give you the form. I have to do that again because I need to keep up with all of my subscribers. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning, I will have information coming down the pipeline that will not be privy to YouTube. So I want to make sure that you are getting my emails or whatever I may be sending. That will be information that will be helping you, further your journey with your nonprofit. All right, so this is exactly what my form looks like. At first glance, I'm going pretty fast down here, but I'm going to go over this with you. I know it looks intimidating. Do not be intimidated. You just take one step at a time, just one sentence at a time. Get that one completed. Go to the next one, okay? Let me point out, okay, remember I said I'm going to use Food Bank ink. I'm just going to use a food bank in this activity here. And always at the top of every single page that you submit to the IRS, you put the name of the nonprofit and the EIN number that you've been assigned, okay, for that nonprofit. Do not negate to do that because, see, I've got it on every page. If you do that, you don't want to do anything that could possibly reject. Now, what they're going to do is they'll probably let you know. The IRS is very good. They're not trying to reject you just because they can. They will give you an opportunity to correct whatever they need you to correct, or they will give you an opportunity to get them that information. So, because they know, I want to point out one thing, when you pay that $600 application fee, or they call it a user fee, when you submit this long form, and again, for the Form 1023 Easy, that's $250. When you submit either one of those, if you are not approved, you do not get your money back. Okay, they do not get, so we want to get approved. All right, again, like I said, they have people to pay. They've already looked through all this, they've done the work, they just couldn't approve you. So we don't want that. We want to get approved. Okay. All right. So remember, we were on part 4, answering question number 1, which was describe completely and in detail your past, present, and planned activities. Okay. So what I put here, and you will do the same, see below the following answer as it relates to program activities, past, present, and planned. Form 1023, Part 4, Question 1. You don't want the IRS to have to search for any information. You want to point them to it. You want to make a note so they won't look at this and they don't know what they're looking at. You're telling them exactly what this is and what part of the Form 1023 you're referring to and what question. All right, and it was question number 1. Now, one thing I always do. This is not necessary, but I always put the mission statement here. All right. You're talking about past, present, and planned activities. I put the mission statement because I may reference this mission statement, and the IRS will be able to look right up here and they'll be able to see the mission. All right. I kind of look at this type of information that we submit to the IRS. Goodness gracious, excuse me. I look at it as if, say, you're going to court. Hopefully, you've not been to court, but if you have, or if you watched any of the judge shows, you will know that you need to bring every bit of information that you can. If you are the defendant or the prosecutor, whatever, excuse me, you're the defendant or you're the one who is suing the defendant, or whatever the case may be, you want to have as much information as you can. Don't show up in court without all the information that's going to back up what you're saying. And the same thing here with what you're submitting to the IRS. Show up with all the information, even if it's more than what they need, give it to them anyway. Okay. So you may see that I repeat some things. Um, that's just what I do. I want to make sure I'm not being leaving any gray areas for the IRS. And they may be like, oh, well, I mean, I got it. But you know what? Hey, you got it, but I also gave it to you. I wanted to make sure it was very clear. So here I wrote to accomplish our mission, the major program activities are, because remember I put the mission here. Now this is a food bank reference. If you're a food bank or you're starting a food bank, lucky you. This is giving you a lot of the information you will need to, put in place now to make sure your food bank is successful. But this mission statement, I just kind of made up one. And I did have a client that started a food bank. Again, I just tweaked a lot of that individual's information because I don't want to give you the same information that they have. We do not want to uh, do that. So, this mission statement to improve the quality of life to low income North Carolina residents. I'm in North Carolina. It will be whatever state you're in. You do not want to use this same mission statement. You do not want to plagiarize. But this is just what I have here for this mission statement. So I won't read it, but this is where I always put the mission statement, okay? And then I start going into answering the IRS's question. So I'm letting them know to accomplish the mission, the major program activities are. Now, this is what they asked for. Past activities. Remember, past, present, or plan. We're going to address past activities first. Because this organization is new, and as you will be, the majority of you will be brand new. You will not have any past activities. If you do have past activities and maybe you started a year ago, you just haven't, filed for your 501c3 tax exempt status, then certainly what if you have any past activities, be sure to put it here. Put that first, and then you're going to answer the questions. And that's A through F, okay? But in this case, this is a brand new food bank, all right? So I put when you're brand new and you haven't done any of this, again, I just want to reiterate that. I put the organization is a newly established nonprofit incorporated with the state of North Carolina. That will be with whatever state you're in, whichever state you're in. And then I put date stamped July 5th, 2023, made up date, but that would be the date that your state stamps your nonprofit and says you're official. Okay, it's usually in the upper right-hand corner of that first sheet or whatever they send to you. It's on there. So I say that, and then I say, and has not engaged in any past activities. You don't want to, at least I don't. I don't put in a non-applicable. I don't do that. I want to explain to them why. All right. Again, organization is a newly established nonprofit and has not engaged in any past activities. All right. Now we're on to present activities. And remember, I also said that you want to have the Form 1023 also pulled up in a link because you'll want to have that question that you just saw on the screen. You'll want to have that pulled up. I urge you to actually pull up the Form 1023 PDF so that, and you can pull that up from pay.gov. I have another video. I showed you how to do that, but you can pull that up or you can just search it. Just make sure it's coming from the IRS. You can go straight to irs.gov and you can search Form 1023 and it'll come up. And then you can click on it and get that PDF pulled up or get that form pulled up so you can have that in front of you so you'll know exactly what you're answering. All right. So here, present activities. Number one, again, you want to start having some present activities as soon as your nonprofit is approved at the state because you got to get it rolling. You want to be successful. So you want you want to get started. So 1A, question number one, A, What is the activity? Okay. Remember, the question is number one. So let me just show you here. Do not get down to number two and don't say 2A. Just keep referencing one because it's question one and it's A through F. All right. So don't be, I know you want to change that. I even wanted to change it myself just to be numerically correct, but no, let's just do it this way. So present activities number one. 1A, the organization, it says, what is the activity? I say the organization is currently engaged via phone and in-person conversations with business associates, churches, and and prospective clients of the food pantry, informing them of the organization's mission and enlisting their help to spread the word throughout the state of North Carolina of its impending opening, as well as volunteering at a local food pantry to learn its processes. Now, whatever the case is with you, whatever you're doing presently, describe it in detail here. What is the activity? What are you presently doing as a nonprofit organization, in this case, the Food Bank Inc.? 1B, who conducts the activity? Now, I have the question in front of me that's broken down from Form 1023, as I asked you to pull that up so I know what it's asking. All right. So who conducts this activity? I did not put it here because I've already told them that this is where I'm getting this information from. See below the following answer. So I don't go back here. If you want to, it's no big deal. You can do that. If you want to put here, what is the activity? Question mark, and then start answering it. That's up to you. I don't do that, but you can. So who conducts the activity? If it'll make it easier for you. Who conducts the activity? This activity is conducted by Beatrice Adams, President and Executive Director of the organization. Of course, that's my name as an example. Put your title, all right? 1C, where is the activity conducted? This activity is primarily overseen from its principal office located at 123 Anytown Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as this is important, as well as various locations deemed necessary throughout the state of North Carolina, as allowed in the organizational bylaws, Article 1, meetings. Anytime you reference the bylaws, point it out to the IRS where they're going to find that information. All right. That says, hey, Food Bank Inc. can meet anywhere throughout the state of North Carolina. I don't know. Oh my goodness, I don't know what's wrong with my speech. I think I'm trying to record this a little too late for my timing. So please, I'm stumbling a little bit. Please look over me. But you do, again, want to let the IRS know where they can find in your bylaws, where it says that you can meet in various locations, wherever you deem necessary throughout your state. So it'll be, I put state of North Carolina, but it'll be whatever state you're in. Now, I would do that exactly, and I will tell you why. You are most likely going to be having your principal office at your home to begin with. If you have an actual principal location outside of your home, kudos. I think that is awesome. I started a nonprofit with my friends. You know the story. And we had to work from our homes. My home was the actual principal office location. So we had to do that because we did not have an office outside of that. But we did have to meet in various locations that we deemed necessary throughout our state because you never know where we were. And we had to have a meeting. We had to have a, ad hoc meeting. It's just we had to call a meeting really quickly or what have you. So you never know where you're going to be located. So just make it flexible there. And then, of course, always reference where it says you're allowed to do that. All right, in your bylaws. 1D. What percentage of your total time is allocated to this activity? The percentage of total time currently allocated to this activity is 50%. Okay. E, 1E, excuse me. How is the activity funded? For example, donations, fees, etc. And what percentage of your overall expenses is allocated to this activity? Now, with present activities, I'm going to listen to this, okay? It says the current activity is primarily funded by Beatrice Adams, President and Executive Director of the organization. All right, you may want to say the current activity is primarily funded by its board of directors, the board of directors of the organization. And this is important because when you're starting out and you're in present activity mode, you haven't received your 501c3 tax exempt status, you will most likely have to fund a lot of what you're doing with your nonprofit. I wish I could say that differently, but people don't want to give you grants unless you have that 501c3 tax exempt status. You may have some people, grant funders or people, donations, that trickle in. But as far as grant funders, you may be lucky and find one that will do that without that 501c3 tax exempt status. But as I mentioned in another video, a previous video, they want to be able to write it off on their taxes too. Anything they donate to you, just as like when you donate, you want to be able to write it off on your taxes. So that's why I say, I mean, with our nonprofit, we primarily funded it in the beginning. We did. All right. And so I want to point also out, please check with your CPA or your tax accountant or whoever does your taxes for you. Make sure you let them know this one little thing here, that you are funding your nonprofit, because that funding to your nonprofit has to be a donation from you to your nonprofit. You're not going to write that off like you would a for profit and you get to write off all your individual expenses, your LLC. It kind of applies against your personal taxes or what have you. No, if you donate 5,000, 10,000, whatever, $50, whatever the case is, to your nonprofit organization, it needs to be in the form of a donation. It could be in multiple different amounts, but you're going to, that's how it has to be on your taxes. Okay. Again, so it has to be a donation from you to the organization. So be sure to check with your tax accountant, CPA, what have you, on that, your tax professional. Here, remember it says also what percentage of your overall expenses is allocated to this activity. Now, this is in the same question, E. I'm just going to say 1E. So, as the organization is newly formed, it has acquired no outside financial contributions and therefore has no percentage of overall expenses currently allocated to this activity. So that's what you want to tell the IRS. Like, you can't give them what you don't have. If you really don't have any outside financial contributions, you know, um, you can't give them what you don't have. So you just have to let them know. And again, they're asking, how is the activity funded? We've answered that. What percentage of your overall expenses is allocated to this activity? Again, newly formed. It has acquired no outside financial contributions and therefore has no percentage of overall expenses currently allocated to this activity. IRS is okay with that. All right. Just let them know. And the last question that they have, they've broken this down again into parts, is how does the activity further your exempt purposes? This activity furthers its exempt purposes by helping the organization directly reach its targeted demographic, e.g., or for example, low-income households, elderly, homeless, and disabled persons residing within the state of North Carolina. Now, I got that from my mission statement. That's why I put the mission statement here. They can look and they can see the demographic. Elderly, disabled, homeless, excuse me, homeless, my goodness, homeless, low income North Carolina residents, or what have you. They can see that. So that's one of the reasons I put the mission statement. They can kind of reference and see, oh, that is your demographic. I get it. Okay. All right. All right. So we're going to scroll down. That was present activity number one. Present activities number one. Present activities number two. Okay. That's if you have two different activities that you're doing. I encourage you to have more than one because you really should be doing a lot of research again on what activities you should be doing to make the nonprofit successful. But in this case, again, this is a food bank. Excuse me for going fast here. That's number one. Notice here, 50% of the total time is allocated to this activity. You want these to actually add up to 100%. So here on number two, activities number two, the percentage of total time currently allocated to this activity is 50%. That needs to add up, okay? 50% here, 50% there. So that equals 100%. Do not let it be less. Do not let it be more. I mean, you can't allot 125, 150% of your time to it because you don't have that kind of time and the damage is only up to 100%. You get it. So, all right. So basically, these are going to say different things, of course. You know, right? This activity, the organization is currently engaged in the recruitment of reliable and dedicated volunteers to work at its food pantry and is securing non-perishable foods and necessary toiletries from individual contributors to initially stock. You get it. This is where you want to put your activity, what you're actually doing. You got to do that research. Again, I keep mentioning that, but it's important. That is what you have to do to propel yourself forward, okay? Propel the nonprofit forward. All right. And that is it for present activities. Now, the last one was future activities. All right. So I just put future activity number one. If you only have one future activity planned, that's all you need. This right here should say 100%. All right. And then here, I'll go over this here just for a moment. So, future activities, what is the activity? I'm not going to read that. You can see that there. You know, food drive is securing shelf stable items, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Okay. Again, activity is conducted by yourself with your title. But notice here, there's a change here now because this is a future activity. So who conducts the activity now? Whereas before it was Beatrice Adams, President and Executive Director of the organization. But now it's Beatrice Adams and by its volunteers because this is a future projection. So you project to have volunteers at this point. And then 1C, again, keep that number 1. Don't change that to 1, 2, 3, whatever, because it's question number 1. So 1C, where is the activity conducted? All right, that's the same. I didn't change any of that. Okay. 1D, the percentage of total time projected to this allocation is 50%. Keep that in mind. Okay, I want to show you something. Then 1E is how is the activity funded? All right. Again, this activity will be primarily funded by Beatrice Adams, President and Executive Director of the organization. But get this, now by donations received from the general public and by funding received from grants. So now it's expanded, right? Because again, this is a future projection. The percentage of overall expenses projected to be allocated to this activity is 50%. Now you can project your overall expenses to be allocated to this activity will be at 50%. All right. Remember, these are guesstimates. They're not exacts. You cannot be exact in a future activity. It has to be a projection. And this doesn't change. This is how does the activity further your exempt purpose? This is the same purposes. That's the same. Now, future activity number 2, the organization, we just kind of put here, what is the activity? This is another thing. Okay, you plan to meet with stores who have community grants. You want to try to secure monetary and non-monetary donations that will help it better serve its clients. So this is really huge. even now, if you're a certain type of nonprofit, I mean, even now, before you get your 501(c)(3) tax exempt status, you can go and meet. That could be a present activity. Say you're going to do a food bank. That could be a present activity too, that you're meeting with the store managers. You just want to see what they have to give. I'll just say it. Like, do you have any food that you can, donate to my nonprofit? My nonprofit name, it's Food Bank Inc. I'm trying to let them know what your mission is. Do you have any food? But in this case, I have it here as a future activity. Do you have a refrigerator that you all will, you're getting ready to switch it out and you can donate it to Food Bank Inc.? Do you have any pantries, any type of shelving that you're not using? You get the idea. You have not because ye ask not. So ask. If they laugh, they won't, because nonprofits are a serious thing. They won't laugh at you. But if they say no, do not be offended by the no. Just keep going till you get that yes. All right, because you never know what they have to actually donate. All right. And who conducts the activity? Same here, but you notice here now it's Beatrice Adams, and again by its volunteers. Your treasurer and your secretary will most likely not be doing this. Of course, in the beginning, if you want to engage them in these activities, fine. If that's the case, be sure to put them there. But if they're going to have a slew of other things that they should be working on as well. Again, refer to the bylaws. It lays out the job descriptions for a treasurer and a secretary, but it's not limited to what I have in those bylaws. So you can edit that to have it say whatever you want to say. And again, that's in another previous video, when I talked about how to write bylaws. All right. So C, where is this activity conducted? That's the same. D, notice the percentage of total time projected to be allocated to this activity is 20%. And the activity furthers, excuse me, not that. The percentage of overall expenses projected to be allocated to this activity is 25%. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to go over activities number 3, but I just want to show you how this should add up to 100%. So we have 3 activities, right? So 1D, the percentage of total time projected here is 50%. And activity number 2, the percentage of total time projected to be allocated to this activity is 20%. So what are we at? 70%. Oop. And now activity number 3, the percentage of total time projected to be allocated to this activity is 30%. So that total time is 100%. Okay, make sure it does add up to that. Now, the same for the percentage of overall expenses projected to be allocated to this activity. It should add up to 50% as well. So on the activity number 1, it's 50%. All right, and what do we have for activity number 2? Activity number 2, the percentage of overall expenses projected to be allocated to this activity is 25%. So we're at 75%. And then activity number 3, the overall expenses projected to be allocated to this activity is 25%. So now we're at 100% and we're good. So again, do not let this intimidate you. Take it one question at a time. Really think about it. Um, Answer it and move on. Do not be intimidated. Do not get stuck in analysis paralysis. I'm really bad at that sometimes. And you just don't move forward because you're analyzing. So don't do that. Don't do that. Just take your time, answer the questions, and move on. All right, you get an A for effort. All right. So I thank you so much for joining me on this video walkthrough tutorial. I will be doing the next one here soon. I thank you for, again, supporting me in this endeavor to teach as many people as I can reach how to start a nonprofit at their state, and then how to be approved as a 501(c)(3) tax exempt organization at the federal level. And I am doing that all for free. And just keep in mind the process itself, there are some things you have to pay for. I wish that was not the case, but you have to pay to incorporate your state. Excuse me, your nonprofit in your state, whatever that case may be. I know in North Carolina it's $60, but it's just, whatever your state is, you cannot avoid that fee. And then again, I mentioned it before, you cannot avoid the IRS's user fee. I call it an application fee, but you can't avoid this. And for the long form, it's $600. So you do have to come out of pocket for something or start acquiring donations, people to help you in your endeavor. All right. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video.